Hey everybody, happy Sunday. This is Dr. Michelle Bengtson, and I am coming to you live with another hope-filled perspective. I feel like I've been a little out of touch. I've been busy traveling the last few days, and so not on here quite as much as I frequently have been. Hey Kim, hi Brian, good to see you guys. So it's been a little bit crazy busy, but in a good way. God is doing good things. Hey, Brian. And so anyway, I wanted to share a hope-filled perspective. Well, sometimes things don't go, hey, Rachel, how things don't go the way we think they're going to go. But God's plans for us are good. And so one of my life verses is Jeremiah 29:11, and it's a pretty popular verse. Hey, Tamara. It's, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans for a future and a hope. And this verse, clinging onto this verse, believing this verse has gotten me through so many difficult life circumstances. Depression, cancer with my husband, 14 weeks of pneumonia, being burglarized twice. You name it. So yesterday was the day of mechanical failure. I was in Washington State because I had spoken at two different events on Friday. And so I was up at the crack of dawn yesterday, and I was supposed to be on the first flight out on Alaska Airlines to fly to LA to tape a TV interview with Pam Christian on Faith to Live By. So I thought, okay, I know LA traffic is unpredictable, so I'm going to take the first flight out, and that'll give us plenty of time. So I get to the airport, no problem. And I don't know SeaTac Airport really well, and it's not quite as user-friendly as I think DFW Airport is, or maybe I'm just biased because that's the airport I fly in and out of the most. But I get there, and they start boarding. And I've never flown Alaskan Airlines before, and it turned out to be a really good airline. So here's a plug for Alaskan Airlines. But they start boardings, and they do, all the first class people and all the preferred people and military and family that has children. And then they start boarding from the back of the aircraft, and I'm in row 7. So I'm at the front of the aircraft. And I always like to get on first because I'm so petite, and it's really hard to get my bags in the overhead bin and everything. Anyway, there are 2 people in front of me, and we're just getting ready to board, and they close the door. And I'm like, this is interesting. And there's a lot of people behind me, and we're all standing there ready to board. And I'm looking at my watch, and, I have just enough time to get to the TV studio. And a few minutes goes by, and another few minutes goes by, and finally they announce, we're so sorry, we have to halt boarding. If you want to take your seats, we'll get right back with you. And I'm thinking, that's odd. So anyway, a few minutes later, they come back and they say, we've had a mechanical issue with the plane. And so mechanics are here, and they're going to look at the issue. And so just take a seat. We're not going to board anybody for a little while. So I go and sit down, and I message the person who's meeting me at the airport. I message the person who's going to interview me at the TV station and say, we've got some mechanical problems, but, they're hoping, hey, Jennifer, they're hoping to resolve this and we'll resume boarding. Half hour goes by, and finally the captain of the plane comes out, and we could see him talking to the gate agent, and nothing. We don't. Long story short, weeks later, the gate agent comes back to us and says, we've had a mechanical failure. It's device. I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, but the mechanics are here, and they think that they'll be able to get it fixed. We'll give you an update in 30 minutes. So I go back, and I message the person who's meeting me at the airport, and I message the person who's interviewing me at the TV station and let them know what's going on. And I wait the 30 minutes and I charge up my phone and I go use the ladies' room and I come back, and about 45 minutes later, the captain comes out and he says, we have an announcement. Here's the piece that has failed, but the mechanics are here and they have all the parts, and they think that, hi, Sue. They think that they'll be able to fix it within about an hour. We've got extra fuel on board, and so we should be able to make up time. And I'm looking at my watch thinking, I'm going to be late for this interview if this doesn't happen. So I contact my prayer warriors and my closest friends who pray for me and just let them know what's going on. And I'm like, you know what, Lord? This doesn't take you by surprise. This doesn't surprise you one lick. So I'm just trusting in you because there's nothing else I can do about it. And I messaged the person who's picking me up from the airport. I messaged the person who's going to interview me. And I go, you know what, Lord, I'm just trusting you. And about an hour and a half goes by, and finally I hear them on the AP system from a different gate announce boarding for our flight. And I'm confused because it's a different gate. So I go over there and I say, excuse me, I know you have multiple flights going from here to LA. Like, is this the original flight or is this a later flight? They're like, no, this is the original flight. We got you a new plane. They couldn't fix the plane. And my son is a pilot, and so he's told me about these mechanical failures before, and I just thought, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that they found this out before we got in the air, because it turns out that the problem with the plane would have affected them of being able to pressurize the cabin, and so we wouldn't have had oxygen. And this could have failed while we were in flight. So I was like, thank you, Lord, that this happened before we were in flight. So I get there at the time the interview is supposed to take place. And as we arrive, the captain comes up on the AP system and he says, it's our guarantee that you'll have your bags within 20 minutes or, we make accommodations for you. And I'm thinking, 20 minutes? That's good, because I've heard it can take an hour to get bags at this airport. So I messaged the person who's picking me up. I messaged the person who's doing the interview, tell them the status. And so we get there. Hey, Gail. And I get my bag. Traffic is amazingly light for LA. We get to the TV station. I grab my change of outfit, run in there, change clothes. We do the interview in just the nick of time before the studio is needed for the next taping. And I'm thinking, thank you, Lord. Thank you. So the person who picked me up, we stopped and we picked up something to eat real quick. And I got out of the car to go throw away my garbage. And I came back to the car and the car started. And no sooner did it start, but it stopped. And we look at each other. And I'm like, really? And so we can't figure out what's wrong with the car. Call a couple of people to see if they have any ideas. They don't know because it could be anything. She starts the car again and it starts, and no sooner does it start and it stops. So we call AAA and we wait about an hour for AAA to come. And it turns out that this could have been really bad and we could have been stuck in LA traffic, and this mechanical failure could have been really bad on an LA freeway. And she's apologizing. I'm like, you know what? These things happen. Is it ideal? No. But the fact that it happened in a parking lot where we are perfectly safe, it was not the ideal day. We had mechanical issues on the plane. We had mechanical issues with the car. But God kept me safe. And there were a lot of people complaining about the delayed flight and whatever, but I choose to look at it from the standpoint that God's plans for us are good. And while the mechanical issues yesterday could be a little frustrating, He kept me safe. And so I have to believe that that was His plan to allow that to happen when I was still on the ground, when I was still in a parking lot. I made it to my hotel last night. I was able to sleep. So your hope-filled perspective today is that sometimes we have to look at life's interruptions as part of God's plan to keep us from further harm. Because he says in Jeremiah 11, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans for a future and a hope. And so I look at yesterday and I think, thank you, Lord, that your plans were to prosper me and not to harm me. And I am perfectly safe today. And I am praying today we don't have any more mechanical failures, but he is good all the time. And that's your Hope-Filled Perspective this Sunday, that God's plans for you are always good and not to harm you. May you have a hope-filled day. Until next time, this is Dr. Michelle Bengtson with your Hope-Filled Perspective. Take care.